From Single Malt. How are you? Today we're going to do Benriach's Curiositas. Now, I've done three I think, other Benriach whiskies before. Might even be four. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the distillery. Needless to say, or perhaps suffice to say, Benriach is staunchly independent, and that independence is their trademark. With that independence, they produce a very broad range of whiskies, and what they're looking for is variation and excitement. So they do all sorts of fabulous finishes, and what we're going to try today is the Curiositas, which is their entry level of the really heavily peated whiskies. Now, this is a distillery up in Speyside, and you might think, hang on, what are the Speysiders doing with peat? I thought that was reserved for the fat boys over in Islay, but no, it's actually not the case. The Speyside style has been influenced, as we know, by single malt whiskies going through that period when the phylloxera disease destroyed all of the vineyards in Europe, and whiskey was the only thing available, and the single malt distillers got consolidated to blends, and that's when the likes of Johnny Walker, etc. were born, and it was trying to emulate the flavour of brandy. But prior to that, all the single malt whiskey distilleries, they peated their barley because that was the only thing you could do to dry out your barley, was burn peat and dry out your barley to make your malt. So the really traditional style of the Speyside, all single malt whiskies in fact, is a very peaty style. It wasn't until they were trying to emulate the brandy that they stopped using peat. They developed air drying for the barley, and so this is a very, very traditional style of whiskey from the Highlands and Speyside. So the thing we won't see is the saltiness that we get from those Islay whiskies when the angel share creates that headspace in the barrels. It gets filled up with that beautiful maritime mist, and you get those lovely iodine-y flavours. Anyway, enough about Islay. Let's have a look at the Curiositas. It's a slightly bronzy. No, I'm going to say that looks to me like it's probably predominantly American oak, but we'll have a look at it. Very nice packaging, and the labels from Benriach are all sorts of different colours to reflect the very different flavours that come through from the finishes, the oak finishes. The black from the Benriach is the Curiositas, which is that peat. Oh, the peat! I can smell it already. Here we go. Wow. Okay, so look, it's got plenty of bacon. What do you like about peat? I love peat. In moderation, it's one of my favourite things about single malt whiskey, and there's plenty of it here. Yeah, you don't need to stick your nose in the glass. It's it's really prevalent. It has that typical bacon, smoked hock, yeah, really, hickory, smoked hickory, yum. And as a guy who loves all smoked foods, smoked cheeses, smoked fish, this is another one of those flavours that I just die for. I wonder if it comes back from our time sitting around the campfire in caves, and with the food and boiling away or cooking up on up on the spit and capturing that essence of smoke. Who knows? It's my theory. It's probably mad. But I tell you what, this is a beautiful aromatic whiskey. It's not as pungent as those as you might find in other whiskies out of Islay. It's a very full peat, but not overpowering, and lovely. And you really still get those other Speyside characteristics coming right through. That lovely barley sugar and the richness. Oh, my mouth is just salivating. Whew, it's got some peat. Yeah, wow. It's got a sweet and sour thing happening. You really get the sweetness of that typical Speyside, but then there's an underlying sourness or bitterness. So really nicely in balance, and you're jumping between the two, and there's enough sweetness to offset those slightly bitter notes that are coming through, probably from the peat, and what you would traditionally expect for those sweeter notes from the Speyside. Lots of rich malty characters, lots of barley sugars and nuttiness, almonds, and really lovely flavours. Oh, look, this whiskey is a mystery because you get that really rich peatiness, which just sort of stays and lingers in the back of the throat, but you sort of become accustomed to it, and then as you become accustomed to it, those secondary flavours of the Speyside, traditional and Speyside, really come through. It's got a beautiful cleanness to the spirit, despite the peat, and yeah, not a lot of oak character coming through. Just perhaps a touch of vanilla. Yeah, but really driven by, it's a clean whiskey, dirtied up with some really rich peat flavours. So a great combination of flavours, nicely interwoven. Things are in balance. This is a crackerjack whiskey. Yum.